from your very beginning, you said you love interiors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering why.
Why I love interiors?
Yeah, why do you love designing interiors?
No, I mean, because we did a lot of that in the past, and we still like it. I think we develop nice projects, interesting projects, and I have fun to do that. I mean, it's not. There are lots of architects that just, a little bit snobby about the interiors, so they say, oh, I'd rather not do that, but I still like it. Of course, for example, we have very difficult time doing, and we don't do so much, residential interiors, because it's usually very difficult for a lot of reasons. But when there is a very difficult task to achieve for interiors, I think it's very interesting when you work with production, when you work with industrialization of a system for maybe a series of branches of a shop or a bank. I think that part is very interesting for us.
And I think that it's really important that, our generation of architects came out and there was no work at first. It was really difficult. There was the older generation of architects where had just, it was really difficult for the architects to break in, and so I think this generation of architects had to get really good at having a more open approach to what your practice was. And as a result of that, I think in the end, in the long run, that created a much more interesting practice. It created and I think it's a good lesson to don't think of what the practice is as this. I think it's really good to go outside of it, and then it makes a practice, which goes beyond the boundaries.
No, I think it also depends on how you want to market your firm, which I think we decided to not be specialized, and that we try to give I would like to call it an intelligent project. It's always something that is custom made for that problem, for that situation, but there is some brain inside. It's not just style, it's not just how you say, take a project and
repetitive, cookie cutter.
And that can be anywhere. It can be an interior, it can be a big firm. We are trying to say to our client, if you give us a project, we try to do something that is very unique, something that
and so in order to make that work, you need clients who want to work with that kind of approach as best as possible to be able to select those. And you need people within the office, as we already talked about, who are okay about that kind of process, which is more like this and requires them to maybe know things that they don't know about and be curious and wanting to, like the kind of people who are like, oh, I want to know about something I don't know about.
And at the same time, we try to be very professional, because this age is not about just being creative. That's it,
for sure.
So the two things has to go together, and it's very difficult because you have to be very, paying attention to the budget, paying attention about a lot of stuff. I mean, that was an example, the Istanbul Tower, of a deliberate decision of just do whatever we want, because we didn't have any chance.
And in terms of the projects we looked at together today, they were edging on the more conceptual stuff, and we weren't looking at a lot of your projects, which were the things that are just as interesting to do, just as important for a firm, and they're
Sarajevo is a good example. You start, and then you have to be open to understand if a client doesn't have budget to do that, and you try to keep the project as much as possible inside of the budget, but at the same time keeping the concept you want to develop as much as possible. It's always a very difficult struggle, but in some way there's no other way. I mean, maybe if you are a big name, so you can just say this is a project, whatever.
That's right.
But we're not like that. And we're happy to change. If you are not flexible to change your project because something happens to your client. I'm doing some workshop at the university, and And the next one that I want to organize is because it's 1 week workshop. And I would like to give a brief on Monday, make them work for 1 day, and then change it the brief because the client shaped their size half of that before, and then after 2 days, change the budget and change it. Or maybe on Wednesday say, oh, I'm sorry, the client has bricks that wants to use, so you have to do a brick house. But you understand, I think it's very, what I would like to teach the students is that it's impossible not to be influenced by the client.
Yeah.
So if a client say, oh, I have in the storage, I don't know, this stone, and you have to use it, you have to find a way to use it, you know? If it's not terrible, of course, but in some way you have to try to really try everything that is suggested.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if it's impossible, you tell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Exactly.
just being, no,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
one.